simply an advanced animal that look, this world, it probably just originated by chance. Many scientists believe that. If you go ask the average professor right here in the University of California, Irvine, go in the bio department, go in the physics department, and ask them the question, this is the answer you'll get. Do you agree with that? That this is what science concludes, and this is what the rational position concludes? If you ask the philosophers on campus, they'll give you the exact same answer. Is this the position of rationality in science, or is it something else that the personal beliefs of those philosophers and scientists? Somebody tell me something.
Personal beliefs.
Personal beliefs?
That's what I would say.
Based upon what?
Going through the logic. They have certain rationale for it. So some people will say by the nature of the fact that you have things like gravity and you have everything comes from evolution, and you can see the evolutionary pattern and stuff like that. People use that as grounds to prove that there is no intelligent design, whereas I would say the opposite.
The opposite, exactly. Good. Yes.
See, I'm a little confused because I feel like a lot of times within the Western context, science is actually linked with that whole idea of secular evolution. So when you say science, what do you mean? Because for me, a lot of times I think science is linked with that idea of secular evolution.
Right. Well, when we talk about science, what are we talking about? We're talking about the scientific method, and that's the basics of science. So if you apply the scientific method where you're testing something, you make a hypothesis, you conduct experiments, you test it, and then you reconduct the experiments, and you see if your hypothesis is holding up after testing. That's the basis of science. Based upon that, if we accept that as to be the definition of science, then what do you think? Sister, what do you think?
Then I don't think that they have science rationality. I think I guess my confusion lay in that a lot of times people say that within science, which is it has no connotation or no value to the way that you think, which is probably the most accurate description. It's the real description versus the way it's used right now. And I think that definition from that, it basically says you have to do science.
Anyone else?
Just thoughts in general. Just thoughts in general
Yeah,
about this question.
sure.
I remember, or the way I think about it is that for 10 millennia or however long the world has existed, however long mankind has existed, we have always believed that there's some intelligent creator. And I don't think within the past 5 centuries, the majority of decision or the majority belief is starting to change. So people may so I believe that it's there is intelligent design. However, there's an argument, we're becoming more advanced now, we're becoming smarter. I think that we should have a little bit more faith in 9 millennia. I don't think that we were very unintelligent for 9 millennia. We may not have invented the internet, but the standard of living was high. We were living comfortably, happily.
So the majority of people throughout history have believed in God, and they haven't said that this universe is a product of chance and coincidence. Alright, so what if somebody says, well, you said, yeah, that's true, we haven't invented, they didn't invent the internet, but what about all those despicable practices of burning people alive and burning witches and all those superstitions and everything that have been there in the past? Do we find those in today's society?
Yes.
Yes, we do. Such as?
It's either masked or in a different form. It'll be in third world countries. It'll be done by maybe our own government and mass oppressing people. It has to be covered up because now with the addition of things like the internet, information is more widely available. People are they're going to be able to understand oh no, this is wrong, and they're going to be able to speak out against it.
Anyone ever seen a psychic or palm reader's office anywhere around here in America? In a liberated, forward-thinking, unoppressed America? So what's going on, right? So that argument doesn't hold up. The argument I presented, he's got a point. The superstitions are still there. It's not such a forward-thinking, liberated society, despite the advancement of science. So we may not have invented the internet. We may not have sent man to the moon. But in the 20th century, modern man has killed more people in 2 world wars than probably all the wars ever fought in the history of the world. So it's something to think about. Okay? Anyone else have something to say on this subject? Yes.
Also like abortion, it's also like, you know, our technology has changed, so people back then they used to bury their children, and now it's just like you can bury your child earlier.
Abortion is another subject. Yes. Yeah, so, okay. So now, normally I was going to present this, but instead I'll just make it a very quick question answer on this part. I want you to think about the universe for a moment. Our planet Earth is one of the planets in which system? Solar system. Alright? The solar system is one system in which galaxy? The Milky Way. How many galaxies are there in the observable, so far observed universe? 10, 100, 1,000, who knows, approximately. In what number is it?
Millions.
Nobody studied astronomy or physics.
We're all engineers.
How many galaxies are there in the observable universe? Many. Billions. There are billions. So just think about that. And think about yourself. When you think that the world revolves around you, which many people do, think about you being on planet Earth, being in the solar system, being in the Milky Way galaxy, and that galaxy is just one of the billions of galaxies that are there. And that's only so far in the observable universe. We haven't actually discovered anything beyond that yet. So once we see more, there might be even more. This might be just one small, whatever it is, space in another form, in another system. Okay, so it's something to think about. And then the first question that comes along is, where did it come from? The first question is, where did it come from? Okay, you ask yourself the question, where did it come from? Would you answer, it came from nothing? No sane mind would say that, because the human mind is not programmed to believe that something came out of nothing. You wouldn't believe it. If somebody told you all of a sudden that, well, how did this bottle of water here get here? Well, it just popped out of nowhere. You wouldn't believe that, right? If all of a sudden, the money that was in your pocket ended up in my pocket, right? You wouldn't say, well, yeah, okay, that's possible, it just happened. No, because the human mind is not programmed, it's not designed to believe something like that. So the first question doesn't work, okay? Next question is, did it create itself? Did it self-originate? No, and you know that it didn't self-originate because you don't believe believe that these type of things that are so complex would self-originate, that would come about and create themselves. You would not believe that. So the third question arises is that, did you create it? Or did somebody else create it? Did a person you know create it? Did an animal? Did your idol? Did a statue? Did they create it? Who created all this? Billions of galaxies. Who created it? You cannot give the answer that you or something finite created it. Because if you're going to say, if somebody or something with the power that can't even create a planet, how could it create all these galaxies? You can only do so much. A human being or something else, a machine, can only do so much. No matter how